In an era when every conceivable artist, okay, whether they be niche or they actually be global phenomenons deserving of a biopic, you would think at this point in time somebody who would be ripe for said treatment would be Gloria Estefan. Like, she's been around forever. I think this year celebrating her 50th year in music. I mean, like, she's an undeniable phenomenon. Somebody who legitimately broke glass ceilings, sold millions and millions of records, and is respected the world over. So yeah, the fact that her story hasn't been given the big Hollywood treatment, it just has to be a simple oversight at this point in time, because especially we're here in 2025. You would think that somebody would move to do this, but Gloria Estefan is one of those musicians whose work and mere presence in the record industry deserves, without a question, platitudes like pioneering or groundbreaking. In fact, we've often mentioned her. This is NPR, by the way. Abu, her in the light throughout the 15 years of alt Latino, of course. So it was an thrill, and they ended up doing a big sit-down interview. And honestly, I just wanted to use this as a setup because, yeah, I have a tremendous amount of respect for her. She's never going to be somebody that, you know, if I'm just I'm looking for something to listen to, that I'm ever going to, you know, queue up over the likes of Santana or any of her other contemporaries. But I have a healthy amount of respect for her. And so now that it appears that there's a biopic on the horizon, for her legendary career to be immortalized by the irrefutable talents of one Rachel Zegler, I mean, what the hell are we doing out here? So Gloria Estefan says Rachel Zegler will play her, yes, in a movie that doesn't yet exist. I kind of imagine this is something that's going to happen for a multitude of reasons, but let's take a look at this. Gloria Estefan claims Rachel Zegler will play her in an upcoming biopic. The only problem is that the movie doesn't exist and no role has been offered. Plus, after the Snow White disaster, is Rachel Zegler really Hollywood's choice for anything? Well, here's one thing that people can at least give her deference to. She can sing, okay? She can't act to save her life, and she can't keep her mouth shut long enough for a promotional cycle for a movie to properly take place, but she can definitely sing. So if they keep her off the stump and they take the phone away from her, I'd be able to make it work. Okay, Gloria Estefan is celebrating 50 years in music, a career filled with 8 Grammys, 100 million records sold, and a Presidential Medal of Freedom. But this week, the conga singer made headlines for something entirely unexpected, claiming that Rachel Zegler is set to play her in an upcoming biopic. There's just one little problem. The movie doesn't exist. So yeah, I guess that could kind of be a tip of the cap that something is on the way, as opposed to she's just making shit up. I don't really think so. But Estefan told The Sun that she's still working on the green light and hasn't even offered Zegler the part yet. We're figuring out what to do, how to do it. This has been in the works for quite a few years now. Now I just need to offer her an actual part. So we need to, so we need it to be greenlit completely, and we're almost there. See, they're working on it. They've been working on it for a while, but they apparently have big aspirations. I'm just wondering, in order to get that green light, is it going to require a different actress, though? Just wondering. So in other words, no studio, no financing, no deal, and no contract. But sure, Rachel Zegler is set to play her. Yeah, exactly. This sounds like an attempt to attach a once bankable name to a film that's still in Fantasyland. That's probably because it is. Zegler's career has been in free fall ever since Snow White turned into Disney's most avoidable train wreck of the decade, and Estefan's comments might be the first time anyone in Hollywood has even presented to want to work with her since. Marissa Tomei and her are going to be doing a mother-daughter drom-com, so that's not entirely true. And her West End run with Evita, I guess, was somewhat successful. People seem to like her performance, but not as much as they liked her understudy the couple of days she took off. But anyways, it's hard to believe now that Rachel Zegler entered Hollywood as Steven Spielberg's next big thing. She was handpicked to star in West Side Story, hailed as a fresh talent, and quickly lined up as one of the most iconic roles in movie history, Disney's Snow White. And then came the interviews and the attitude. Oh, let's take a walk down memory lane. Because, God, man, this is how we started the year, just anticipating the flop that was on the horizon with Snow White after it got delayed for a year, and just waiting for her to say something stupid. And yeah, it was, God, we're a couple weeks removed from her absolute meltdown after the election, where she, if you recall, wished Trump supporters to never know peace. God, what just a tremendously affable individual. But during the press tour for Snow White, Zegler openly mocked the 1937 original, claiming the prince literally stalks Snow White and calling the classic story outdated and weird. She promised her version would be more modern and empowering. Well, also, Gal Gadot also helped that out by saying she will not be saved by the prince. That comment alone would have been enough to alienate lifelong Disney fans, but guess what? Hey man, there's more. At Disney's D23 event, while promoting the $270 million film, I'm sure it was more than that, and we'll get those tax receipts probably next year, she decided to add Free Palestine to, her social media post celebrating the trailer's 120 million views. That was such an unforced error. Like, you can kind of understand her running her mouth in a very sycophantic way, in a very hospitable environment, but just simply attaching a political stance like that to a post, it's like, what the fuck are you doing that? That political statement, yes, attached to the marketing of a family movie, left Disney executives blindsided and led to a reported increase in death threats against her Israeli Snow White co-star Gal Gadot and her young children. And hey, even if it isn't true, which kind of have to see receipts in order to really back that up, Gal, for her part, didn't come forward and try to play the victim on that, so good for her. Disney was forced to pay for additional security to keep Gadot and her family safe in the wake of Zegler's comment. Variety later reported that producer Mark Platt personally flew out to New York to confront Zegler about the outburst. She didn't back down and the post stayed up. Then came another outburst, after the 2024 presidential election, where she posted, "Fuck Donald Trump, and may Trump," yes, here it is, "may Trump and his supporters never know peace. For the company that depends on families and flyover state audiences and parents buying tickets for their kids, it was a marketing equivalent of setting off fireworks in a dynamite factory." And by the time Snow White finally hit theaters in March of 2025, the damage was done. The film opened to just $87 million worldwide, less than half of what analysts expected, despite the enormous budget for the project Disney hoped would earn $1 billion. Because, you take a look at the contemporary live-action remakes, it's like, this is just a gigantic failure. I don't even know if it made $200 million at the box office. I can't remember. It's been a long time since we've looked at those numbers. But yes, it was catastrophic. But hey, people watched it on Disney Plus, guys. Like, shut up. It's kind of like The Flash. Nobody defended this shit. It was garbage the whole way down. So yes, circling back around to Gloria Estefan, who appears to genuinely admire Zegler's musical talent, at least from afar. She told The Sun that she met the actress over Zoom and praised her performance in Evita on London's West End. She's got a beautiful singing voice, and she's a great actor. Well, okay, I'll give you half of that, but then in the last half, it's like, I don't really know. That's sweet, but no amount of enthusiasm can change the fact that the film isn't even real yet. Estefan admitted that the project doesn't have a studio, director, or funding. It isn't an adaptation of her Broadway musical On Your Feet, and currently exists only as an idea in development limbo. So why announce Rachel Zegler as a lead before there's even a script or a deal? The cynical answer: headlines. If you attach a recognizable, if divisive name to the project, it gets attention, even if that name carries a baggage heavier than a cargo plane. So that's an absolutely fair and apt description of events. Maybe Gloria and her team think that it's enough to cast somebody that you think would be good for the role, think that they at least have musical talent and enough acting talent to, shuttle the story along. But in order to make this happen, you also have to use some of your goodwill that you've built up over a 50-year-long career to offset that of somebody who in the past couple of years has been exposed as an absolute toxic, evil, hateful, spiteful individual. It's a big gamble. And there are some old school publicists that are out there that continue to think, with all of the contravening evidence that has been presented in recent years, that any publicity, any chatter is good chatter. They will find out very quickly that if this movie does end up going into production, if it ends up landing a studio, director, and all the associated cast and crew members, this could end up being a tremendous disaster, a la Snow White, a la West Side Story, a la Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, a la Hunger Games, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Holy crap, that's a lot of failures. But hey, at least some people liked Evita, right? Right? So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.